Okay, roll call of aldermen. Isom. Here. Kinsella. Here. Holt. Here. Schmidt. Here. Rojewitz. Here. Randall. Here. Anthony. Here. Silsby. Here. Hayden. Seibert. Here. White. Here. Coletti. Here. Musgrove. Here. Orland. Here. Schneider. Here. Here. Well, Mr. Hayden was here, I thought.
He went to Red Bull.
Nobody gets here. Roll call of department heads. Police Chief Clay. Here. Fire Chief Langston. Here. City Attorney Garrett Horton. Here. Kim Vaughn. Here. Royce Carlisle. Jamie Mayford. Here. Tim Gregowitz. Here. Jim Schneider. Here. Leandra Spearman. Here. Emily Foltz. Here. Chuck Schaefer. Here. Bob Sabo.
Here.
And Debbie Bell.
Here.
Let me know that Mr. Hayden is here. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no public hearing this evening, and we have several things under presentations, recognitions, and appointments. I'd like to start off recognizing the character word of the month of June is fairness. Fairness meaning playing by the rules, being open-minded, and not taking advantage. The character word is I will go back to what I see it. Probably doesn't hurt to read fairness first anyway. So, now that I actually put my wrong end of my bifocals here, we'll go back to opening public participation. Let me just say this evening, as you do raise your hand to be recognized, you step up to the microphone, give your name and address, and please give us about 2, no more than 3 minutes so we can get everything, all the business accomplished this evening. Who would like to go first? Okay, this young lady right here.
My name is Kathy Draper. I live at 500 South 19th Street, Belleville. I wanted to talk about a few things. I wanted to know if there was any more discussion about the street lights going up on South 21st Street.
We're working on it.
Okay, well you told me that 2 weeks ago. I was just wanting to know about how long it takes to do this. It's pitch black.
It does take some time.
It's pitch black back there.
We are working.
I want to thank you for the added police patrol. I've talked to the neighbors and stuff. They're very happy about that. We also had another incident last night at Arnold Field. The police came fairly quickly, and there was an arrest made. Corey League needs to put more lighting or something in there. I did address Joe Hayden on his voicemail last night at the incident. So he is made aware of the situation. But I do have one other question on this zoning board and appeals on the number 4, the case number 31, May 13th. And I'm not real familiar with all of it. I am familiar with some of it. But it says that they're requesting a use of variance in order to place a mobile office on the property. And my problem with that is that we are trying to discourage mobile properties. There was mobile variances within the city limits in my own neighborhood, that there was a mobile home lot that had been a mobile home lot for 65 years, that there had never been any other any other homestead on that house, and the city council voted it down. And there had been a mobile home on that property for 65 years. And I don't want to see, if this gets passed, then it's only going to be that other people are going to go, oh, well, they let him do it, so let's go for a mobile home thing, and let's have a business in a residential area. And I don't want to start anything, so that's my opinion, my vote.
That will be addressed under zoning, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Rick Brown, 618 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Belleville, Illinois. Mayor, you found those minutes yet? That I've asked you for the 10 years of the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Mr. Brown, as I told you before, this is not quiz the mayor.
Fine. Well, anyway, you guys have a case coming up, case number 32, on a duplex that is now in a single-family residential zone. The duplex was built under proper zoning, A2 two-family, many, many years ago, and as a result of the illegal and unconstitutional taking of the property through retroactive rezoning the previous city attorneys approved of, is the only reason it has to be up here for a variance tonight. These properties, having a piece of property and the zoning that goes with it is a right. It's not a privilege. And when the city council, this is the duplex here, there's a picture of it. It can only be a duplex. It's never anything but a duplex, and you don't convert it back to a single-family dwelling. Now, I know many cases when you don't like maybe the duplex or the people who might want to reside there, you vote it down, and then it's an empty structure for the next 200 years. But, you know, this process, and I know the city attorney that we have now doesn't know this, and maybe he ought to be brought up to speed on how the city council has stolen hundreds and hundreds of pieces of property from people without due process of law in order to change the demographics of the city of Belleville. This should be passed. They shouldn't have had to come through here, but it should be passed. It's a nice duplex, you know, and there's no reason why they shouldn't keep the property right that they should have without having to come before the council. Thank you.
Bob?
I'm Robert Brunko. I live at 408 Auburn Street in Belleville. I'm a historian. Since 2010, I've been leading walking tours of downtown Belleville. I want to commend John Comprack for considering two of the most historically and architecturally significant buildings on Main Street. William Huff, a simpler cobbler from Germany, constructed 120 East Main in 1852. And he became a significant retailer on the street. His building was retrofitted with prism glass by Isaac Peskind when Peskind extended his department store at 116 East Main. Peskind was one of the Eastern European Jews who came here about 1900 and became a Main Street merchant. Some of the very oldest of you, may recall names like Bormann, and Small, and Deutsch. They were part of this migration, which Peskind was a part. Peskind wanted a high-end store, so he hired local architects, Frank Riester and Otto Rubach, in 1926. Some of you will recognize the works of Riester and Rubach, the Bridgman Insurance Building, Blankert's, Market Square, and the Lindenwood Maid Administrative Building, just to name a few projects of these significant architects. The Peskin Building's major feature is its arcade front, that glassed-in lobby. It is the last example of an arcade front in Belleville. And if you walk through that lobby, you'll still notice some of the green marble from Timos, Greece, which lines the base of the walls. It has a freestanding display window, which even at the time that Peskin's was built, was rarely seen because of its cost. But Peskin had great pride in who he was and where he was, and spent the money to make the statement. The picture windows are set in copper frames. Above the picture windows are 4-inch squares of prism glass, individually set into frames like stained glass. One of the patterns of the prism glass is a Frank Lloyd Wright type design. Mr. Peskin has a great marketing opportunity here to capitalize and advertise the features of these buildings, which contribute so significantly to the downtown streetscape. And just think about the bicentennial story of the merchant who used the historically and architecturally significant structures to advance the economic development of Belleville.
Thanks, Bob. Bob is working with the 200th, and that's very interesting historic information. Very interesting. Yes, sir.
Leonard, 318 South 29th Street. I was interested to get an architectural lesson. How can a person get a fair trial when you have a Democrat judge and a Democrat defendant? I think there should have been a change of venue. I'm pretty well disappointed that many of the new aldermen voted in favor of a Boss Sprague protege to be city attorney. Lindenwood College pretends to be a patriotic school but denies civil rights that all citizens of Belleville have except a Marine War veteran who was just walking his dog like he had been for 8 years before they were, or 8 years. Before long, they are going to cut Belleville in half and have a West Belleville and an East Belleville. Andrea Cox, John Conrad, as far as I'm concerned, can build all he wants in downtown Belleville as long as he uses his own money. Andrea Cox, when she had her Oregon Trail Roasting Company, she got absolutely no help from the city. Instead, the city hindered her little coffee shop. Okay, have a good day.
Yes, sir.
Michael Hackberg, 701 Centerville. I have a number of comments about the contract agreement. Just want to pull it out and just going to mention by item number. Item 7, what figure is being used for base amount calculating the 50% property tax rebates? Will it be the purchase price or the county's fair market value of the property? Items A and B, the term 2 city fiscal years is vague. It could mean final payment as early as May 1st, 2014, or as late as April 30th, 2015. One might also assume that these are equal payments, but it's not stated. It should be contract law to state this type of stuff. Item C, remove the term "but not limited to" in the amount of money that he's going to put into the property. It should specify what it's being for. We don't want to have it include computers, phones, shelving, and other properties, other items that don't contribute to the increased value of the property. Copies of all rehab invoices and receipts should be provided to the city. Invoices and receipts should also indicate when sales tax abatement was used. In the slim chance that there's a default, this amount is going to be required in a penalty section. Again, just remove the word "but not limited to." Contract also, or item D, the contract needs to specify the current sales in order to justify whether he's got a $300,000 increase. I don't have a problem this being provided to the city and not made public, but it should be provided. Items E and F, we learned with Rule of Foods that the word job is vague. It should specify full-time equivalent job, and it should also specify a time length for how long those jobs are being required to be provided. Back to items 1 and 2. Would you go to 10th Street Bakery and purchase a triple layer chocolate cake just to throw away the cake and use the platter? If we need a serving platter, we should buy a serving platter. Why are we paying for a building and a lot only to toss the building away? If we need the lot, the taxpayer should buy the empty lot. And last is, what TIF is being used to fund this agreement? You're not going to answer, okay. TIF 17, I had heard a rumor, but TIF 17 has no money left in it to fund this type of.
Chamber, we said the other night at the committee meeting, and I explained that, you were here. It sits in TIF 17, but it would be paid out of TIF 3, correct, Jamie? And that was in the minutes.
Thank you.
It will be in the minutes, I don't know if they're recorded yet. Okay, who's next? Yes, ma'am.
Jerry Boyer, 208 East Main Street. I'm also Belleville Main Street president, and Belleville Main Street would like to say that we are for John Conkride's expansion on Main Street. It really fulfills two of our goals. We'd like to see, of course, all the buildings downtown filled, and specifically the bottoms filled with as much retail as we possibly can get. So we really appreciate that a long-standing business is willing to, again, expand. And then the lot in the back and taking down the building really goes to supporting our need for future parking and a parking deck. So we really like the idea that the city is working toward, both of these goals.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Tara Wagner. My address is 306 Joe Moore in Smithton. We own a property in Belleville on 215 North Delaware. I had applied to have the property zoning change for me to use it as private practice for massage therapy. On the 23rd, the board said that they recommended to deny this. I don't understand why, considering most of the complaints had nothing to do with what I was trying to do. They complained about the duplex on C Street. They complained about cars driving too fast down Delaware. The only complaint that seemed to have anything to do with me was parking. We have 4 spots for 4 cars. Seems like maybe me saying I might hire someone if business were to be successful might be a problem, so I'd like to change that. I have no intention of being a boss or hiring on another therapist. So we have more than ample parking, which is me and my client. Between our property and Dave Feld offered parking at his place. My husband said that he could take some of our property off of C Street, on the side of C Street, to make more parking. We'll never need that for the business, but if that will help change city council's mind, then that's what we'll do. Lastly, I'm not sure if the petition against me starting a massage parlor with 25 signatures. I wrote those people and explained what I was trying to do, and some of the neighbors have reached out and said that they were misled. They were told it was the duplex and that my intentions were more sinister than they were told, than they thought. And I've signed a counter petition and an intern signed my petition. I have 103 signatures in support and 3 signatures that would like to change sides.
You can bring it forward and city clerk, please. Anyone else?
Ricky Rimmen, 4567 Norwood Road, Waterloo. Right before this started, the alderman over here came over and told me to go ahead and leave because you guys are going to postpone mine. I don't know if I should stick around. I'd like to see what we can do. I mean, I gave up a night of going to make some money to come here to try to get this done. I worked 7 days a week, not knowing how much money I'm going to make every week. And
I would suggest that you stay.
I was hoping I could. All right, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Christy Ingram. I live at 5967 Douglas Road in Smithton. I'm writing to support
for my sister-in-law Tara Wagner about the property at 215 North Delaware. I did write a letter for the zoning board meeting. I'm not sure who all gets that letter, so I wanted to read a copy of it. Which just says, I'm writing this letter concerning the property and the plan to use the property for therapeutic massage. I understand that some neighbors may be concerned about the property being used for commercial use. However, it is my opinion that allowing Tara Wagner to use the property for her small private business can only benefit the neighborhood and Belleville in general. The property currently is unoccupied as Tony and Tara Wagner moved to a new home nearly 2 years ago. Despite this, they have kept the property in very good condition. The exterior of the home has been painted, the custom-built porch is maintained, and the grass is cut regularly. They have also turned down offers to sell the house at well below the market value. In short, they have continued to be good neighbors even though they no longer live in the neighborhood. Tara is a nationally certified massage therapist with several certifications in various types of massage. Massage therapy is a legitimately recognized treatment option for issues such as muscular joint pain, sports injuries, chronic pain, headaches, stress, and anxiety. Many people utilize massage as a way to get relief from symptoms or heal injuries. Numerous people in my life, including my husband, other relatives, friends, and acquaintances, have benefited from getting massages from Tara. She is passionate about fostering health and well-being in her patients and plans to create a comfortable and professional environment in which to provide massage. I believe allowing Tara to use this property is a win-win for everyone. The residents of the neighborhood can feel confident the property will continue to be owned and maintained by Tony and Tara Wagner, just as it has been for 8 years. Tara will be able to provide therapeutic massage in her own custom-designed space, which will allow her to best meet the needs of her patients. I truly hope the members of the City Council appreciate the benefits of promoting small businesses in the community and agree to allow Tara to pursue with her vision. As I said, Tara is my sister-in-law. She is a sister-in-law. She's one plant to my son. I think questions of her character are completely ridiculous. She wants nothing but to provide health and well-being in her patients. She fosters animals. She wants to provide discounts to people who are in work with the Humane Society. She's really all about helping people. I also want to say that while I live in Smithton now, I was born and raised in Belleville, graduated from Belleville West High School. My family lives in Belleville, and I really have a vested interest in Belleville being a successful, prosperous town. So I really can't understand why anyone would not want her to use her property for business. I think the downside would, if she's not allowed to, it could be sold below market value, could be sitting vacant, and I just don't see how that would benefit Belleville in any way. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Yes, sir.
I'm Dave Feld. I live at 1718 East C. I'm the only property owner that's directly connected with the Wagners. I'm 110% for this. I'm going to make this short. I had some petty thefts, and I really think Tara being there during the day will help deter that, and I can watch her place at night. House has been vacant for almost 2 years. They've kept it well maintained. However, I don't like it being vacant, and I don't want them to take a loss on it either. And you couldn't ask for a more quiet, tranquil business than this, and it's not going to. You're not going to even see any effect. There's not going to be any more cars there than there was before. Plenty of parking. I offer at the front of my house parking for clients. I don't think they're going to need it. And that's really what I want to say. You know, it's a win-win situation. They got a vacant house, and they could be using it for this small commercial.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Angeline Wildminster. I live at 301 North Delaware, directly across from 215 North Delaware. It's requesting a variance for a business, and I have 24 signatures here and myself against a variance requesting her to put a business in a residential area for the simple reasons. This has been a single residential neighborhood for over, as long as I can remember. I've been there for over 40 years, and a lot of the other ones have been there that long or longer. And we don't want business in a residential area for the simple reasons. The street is too narrow for parking on both sides and let the traffic through. There's no curbs, no sidewalks. Cars will be parking on our lawns. And our property values would go down. We all agree to that. There are too close for a hybrid is real close. There will be no area parking on the street in front of her business.
You have a petition.
And I, for one, don't want any business at my front door. With that, I thank you.
Can we have a copy of the petition, ma'am? Please, can you give it to the clerk? Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Tony Wagner, 306 Joe Martin, Smithton. My name is Tony Wagner. I was born and raised in Belleville. My parents, both sets of my grandparents, were born and raised in Belleville, went to Belleville West. When I got out of the Navy in 2003, I brought my pregnant wife back to Belleville with me. We dreamed of raising our children here, just like so many Wagners had before, playing football for the Little Knights, playing Belleville Corey, going to Belleville West. We bought our home on Delaware Avenue as a starter home. By the time my son was old enough for kindergarten, we realized that what we had invested in our house, we'd never get back out of it because the economy took a turn for the worst. We can't even get back what we paid for it. I have a sentimental attachment to Belleville. Considering we raised both of our children in our house, we have a sentimental attachment to the house on Delaware also. We can no longer hold on to it. We just can't keep paying for it, hoping the market turns around. My wife is a healthcare professional, and she is astonishingly good at what she does. To try to get her private practice going on our property on Delaware seemed to be the best solution for everyone as a whole. There's a lot of complaints about parking. We have one employer, one person working, and one client. That's two people, that's two cars. I don't see the problem. When I lived there, we had more than two cars there. We have a garage that holds one car, a driveway that holds 4 cars. I don't see the problem. There's many neighbors against us, and I don't understand it. When we lived there, we spoke often, we got along, we helped each other out, and now that we're trying to do something better for our family, they don't like it. Mr. Dave Bell spoke before. He has offered additional parking, which won't be needed. Again, I don't see what the problem is. If you do grant us the zoning variance, the zoning will go back to a single family, just as it is right now, if we do sell the house. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening here? Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Watson, 1920 Shield Street. I'm in favor of Tara's business. My mother-in-law did it for years, and she's a Belleville resident until she passed away. I don't see what the problem is. I think that it would be good for Belleville. I would rather have Tara have a massage therapy business there than some drug addict or a meth lab or a pedophile, and they know Tara and Tony, so I just don't see why it's such a problem. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Karen Wagner, 212 South Church Street, Belleville. You've heard a lot about this, so I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Like they said, the only problems people have named was parking. Tony said, Mr. Dayfeld said, there's plenty of parking. Parking is not an issue. At the May 23rd meeting, the only other issue was traffic. It's not Tara's fault or any of our fault that Delaware is a heavily trafficked street. It just is. The traffic there now has nothing to do with her because her business isn't there right now. I know also it was said that it's a residential area. There are plenty of businesses in those streets. 161 is 1 block up. There's a flower shop, not a block over. There's a mechanic shop 2 blocks over. So I don't understand how they can say no more businesses. We already have businesses.
Another issue is the property value. Like Tony explained, and it's been explained before, the property value won't go down. This is a temporary variance that will be used commercial while they own the house, while she runs as a massage therapy business, and as soon as it's sold, it'll go back to residential. I cannot think of a single way this will impact the neighborhood at all, let alone have a negative impact on it. They're trying to use their resources that they currently have to make a property that isn't selling into a business. Belleville's all about small businesses. That's all I ever hear is we want to promote small businesses, promote Belleville. This is just another way of doing that, and I don't think that should be limited to downtown. Another thing is she's not going to have any signs or any advertisement for this. She's mentioned that multiple times before. Her house will just look like a home. It'll be another home in Belleville instead of another vacant lot, and I think that's exactly what the city needs. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is David D. Corsi, and I live at 1714 East C Street. Sorry, ma'am, that's hogwash what you said. There's plenty of room for parking, there's all kinds of things, and the only thing we got is a neighbor rental house that gives us problems out there. Everybody that's complaining lives way at the other end of the street. I think that's right that they should do that, and there's plenty of room, and the streets aren't that busy. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Anyone else this evening? Yes, sir.
My name's Gerald Drennan. I live at 609 Sycamore Street. I'm in favor of letting Tara Wagner run her business there. As you heard, everybody gave the reasons why. I agree with them. It's not going to hurt the property value. I think it'll help the property value. You know, Belleville doesn't need any more vacant homes. The parking problem's minimal because, like Tony said, they can park 4 cars in their driveway. And massage benefits people. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And as they said, the zoning will go back to single-family residential if they ever sell the place. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ron Wright, 112 East Main, Benz. I'm in over Benz for the last 36 plus years. They said to them in 2 or 3 minutes. It's going to be hard to do. I could talk 25 to 30 minutes. 90% of that would be what it's going to do for Belleville. 5%, 10% what I do for me. Been down there 36 years, 36 plus. I have bought 7 buildings. I have spent more money remodeling and rehabbing these buildings than what I paid for them. But these 7 buildings I bought, I refused to ask for or receive a penny from the city for anything. However, on this particular thing, I'm going to need some help. The only way I can do this is with help. The reason I need help, first of all, the building that I want to sell to the city would make it impossible for me to keep that for 2 reasons. One is because I need the money to help support, finance the other, and the other would give me too much retail space. I don't need that much space. The one mistake that I did make that I heard the other day when we had the meetings was the fact that I'm only asking for what the appraised value is of the building. Mistake on my part, and I can tell you why. I have more money than that invested in that building. When I bought it, I had completely gutted out. I had a new rubberized roof. I had 2 new air conditioners. I had put a new ceiling in it, a new floor in it, new walls. And I had to put spatial lighting for my Thomas Kincaid, and I had to make spatial made counters. I guarantee you I have more than I'm asking for the appraisal value of the building. I thought it was wrong to ask for more than the appraisal because I thought I should just ask for the appraisal. I should ask for more, maybe a little less on a lot or whatever. Maybe I didn't put the package together. But I can assure you there's more money in that than what the appraisal value is. I'll try to keep this brief because I could talk all day long. But the one thing that I've been trying to get the city to do for years, my biggest problem with downtown and continue to grow is the lack of parking. I have approached the mayor many times about no parking. And I said many times I would sell this building. I would cut back on the retail size of my store, which I even repeated recently for the more parking. We need the parking to continue to stay in business. We need it. The parking is going to benefit the city in total, not just me. The library needs it, the other merchants need it. We need it for the street events. The one thing We need it because this is the number, we had a feasibility study which Main Street co-chaired the city and paid for. And the feasibility said if we ever have a parking garage, and we do need one, this would be the #1 location. With the purchase of this property, the city would have that location paid for if they ever wanted to have the money and want to get it get the parking garage there, they would be able to have it. I have talked to the developer. I'm interested in putting lofts in my buildings, and I have several other buildings that's eligible for it. But without the parking, we can't do it. If we ever get a parking garage there will be lofts there. So, and people say we had a sour taste in their mouth here to talk. You don't know what's around. Like I can give you examples: Springfield, Missouri, Lafayette, Indiana, Bowling Green, Ohio. There's plenty of them where the downtowns are filled with lofts, and it is an up and coming thing. The only way it can happen for me is if we get lofts, if we get a parking garage. But they can't do the parking. Once they have this amount of space, they would have the location they need for the #1 parking. A couple of quick things I'll mention real briefly and move on because I only have 3 minutes. The things that's going to help in addition to the business that I get, keep this in mind, 60% of my customers come from outside of Belleville. Outside of Belleville. Now, when they come to Belleville, they're going to be buying gas, they're going to be buying other food, go to other restaurants and spend other money in town, hopefully. If we grow that much more, it's going to help us more. The positive impact this would put just in visual for what the city's doing and how progressive we're doing, the potential, once you get a Domino's, in fact, and get more retails coming, this could happen. Very briefly, what's going to happen Concord Incorporated. I got my will and trust set up, so my daughter Beth is here. Has been with me 24 years now. She was a CPA, called me one day, I wanted to come to work, and I said, I can't afford a CPA, she doesn't run a business. I said, I'll take you tomorrow. She gave a 30-day notice, she's been with me for 24 years. She wants to keep the business going. And she has her daughter working for me, my granddaughter. My granddaughter is our office manager and our toy buyer. My will is set up so it's a trust, so my daughter can keep this going. We want to keep it going. I want a legacy. I want to keep this going. I'm 73, I don't need it. But I want to do it for my daughter, and hopefully the city is going to go along with this. This would make us the competition on what we carry. The lines we carry, and one of the older man asked what we're going to do, we're not going to reinvent the wheel, we're going to make the wheel bigger. We're going to take the apartments we have that we know we can do well with, and we know where we can expand and make this successful. We currently pay the amount of sales tax that we generate, the city's portion is around $23,000 a year. We know that to go up quite a bit. And we all currently are paying right at $30,000 a year on sales tax. On property tax. That's going to go up. The question was asked about just so you folks know, the question was asked about how much we're asking for 50% rebate for 5 years. I personally went to the courthouse to check it out because I want to know. But guess what? Since that's been owned for 20-some years by the Lutheran Church, they haven't paid a penny of property tax. They cannot give me any idea what the tax would be until it's appraised. So we don't know what it's going to appraise at. When they appraise it, then that's what I'm asking for. Whatever the price is, 50%, just so you know. And just one more quick thing. The mayor said, I asked the mayor, what one thing could I do to make this go, make it successful, have the city council agree upon it? And he said, he's afraid that if they do some of these things for me, that some of the other projects that are under consideration might be not have the money to do it. I said, hey, what? Give me half the money and half money later. Give me a year down the road. I said, would that make it? He says, that would assure that we would not have to cancel anything that's in the works right now. I said, I'll do it. Could talk a lot longer, but that's my time's up. Appreciate it. Hope you consider it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, I'm going to close public participation so we can get on with the meeting. Okay, at this time, Keith Pryor is here from the Illinois Housing Development Authority regarding the Illinois Building Blocks Program. Keith, please step forward and give us a little overview, and mainly, too, where they can contact you or others, because this is an awesome opportunity, and we're committed to and bring it forward so the public could hear about it.
Thank you, Mayor and Alderman. As the Mayor mentioned, my name is Keith Pryor. I'm Assistant Director of Home Ownership Program with the Illinois Housing Development Authority. And I do want to take a brief time to tell you about a new program that's available in Belleville. It's been available for the past couple of months. It's a program that within the authority we're very proud of. And in every area where we had the program, we've had good results. So I'm quite sure you guys will be proud of the effort as well. It's called the Illinois Building Blocks Program. It's a program that's won the National Housing Award, so we're very, very happy to expand it. Just a little brief overview on the program. The program started in May of 2012 when Governor Quinn announced a pilot program called Building Blocks. Building Blocks Program was a program that was designed to return vacant and foreclosed properties to productive use, and it's a comprehensive and coordinated effort to do three things. One, stabilize neighborhoods. 2, protect property values, and 3, maintain local tax bases. As I mentioned earlier, it was originally a pilot program in Chicago communities. Due to the success of the program, we have expanded it in other statewide communities. Belleville is the furthest south that we go. The closest other places where we have the program would be Champaign and Peoria. Other ones communities are in northern Illinois. Building Blocks is a 2-part program. Part 1 is a first mortgage. With that first mortgage, we give flexibility, meaning anyone who qualifies for the program would have the option of going through any other typical program that you see out there, including FHA, VA, conventional loans, USDA. We have options for buyers who qualify. We do give a low first rate. We have 2 options, government loans such as VA, FHA and USDA. We have our current rate right now is 4 and a quarter. And for conventional loans, that's 4.5. But part of the program that makes this a really worthwhile program would be the second mortgage. The second mortgage we give for down payment is $10,000. And that's regardless of what the purchase price may be. What's so wonderful, what we really like about the program is that this $10,000, there's no interest on the loan, there's no monthly payments required. It's a $10,000 second mortgage that's forgiven in only 2 years. Now, I'm not a fortune teller or anything like that, but from my experience dealing with real estate, it looks like we've hit bottom. So many people who participate in this program, it's very simply say that in 2 years they'll have $10,000 in equity in their home. Who qualifies for the program? One, those who are familiar with what we do in the program, you know that we're normally first-time home buyer program. But with this program, due to the special nature and what we're trying to do, you do not have to be a first-time home buyer. We do have income limits. Income limits for the program are for household size of 1 to 2, $73,000 and change. For household size of 3 or more, $84,000. Purchase price limits in this county go up to $259,000 for 1-unit properties, and for 2-unit properties, it goes up to $332,000. Program properties that qualify for this program are vacant properties in Belleville. Doesn't have to be foreclosed, simply vacant. If someone's under our income limit and buying a property under our purchase price limits, if they buy a vacant home, they can get that $10,000 in down payment assistance that's forgivable over a 2-year period. Now, just a quick update on the program. Belleville is one of our most popular areas in this region. Today, we have other programs, including programs for veterans. We've done 33 loans here, of which 8 are Building Blocks loans. So again, it's a very viable program. Just judging by the questions I've received once I came in, I know there's a lot of interest in the program, and we are available to come down and do presentations and give you more information about the program.
Keith, thank you. Question?
Yeah, I'm one of the people that talked to him earlier. Do I have to come up there, or can I stay here and tell him?
Speak real loud from right there.
Okay, I'm Joyce Johnston from Johnston Realty, and I confronted him with a couple of questions. Matter of fact, we had talked to him about coming and talking to the realtors and the loan officers.
Well, I was just going to suggest that, Joyce. I think that would be
I
a
beat
great...
you to it, didn't I?
Huh?
I beat you to it.
No, I think that would be a first, and you'd be willing to do that, Keith?
By all means.
And I would be willing to, because of the sake of time, I'd be willing to, if the realtors thought so, to host another public meeting here with more questions. Just an evening on this topic, if that would be.
That's why I was hoping that
Yeah.
this would have gotten in the paper.
So
ahead
would
of
you,
time.
that's something that's possible?
Not a problem at all.
Now, I think, what I would like to see you do, you have a, I think I got your information, but do you have a card?
By all means, I'll leave a couple here on the table.
Yeah, make sure I get one,
Oh,
okay?
by all means.
And I will call you, and what we'll do is we'll first get, or you got Joyce's number, let's get you with the realtors first, and then let's talk about a public meeting that we could, because I'm excited about spreading the word on this project. We have a lot of vacant homes, and I think if people just know about this, this could be a wonderful avenue or tool to help them make a dream come true, and we advocate home ownership. I think it's a good thing, so I think it'd be great to see this happen. So if we can, I want to thank you for coming.
No problem.
This is a great step, and then Joyce?
Now I have another question.
Okay.
Does this cover new construction too?
Yes, the key word is vacant.
It has to be completely done?
Yes, it has to be completely done. It has to be a vacant property. If it's new construction that someone signed a contract on, at that time, that doesn't qualify because that's a person who's having new construction built. But if it's a vacant home, at the time of contract, then it can qualify for the program.
Now, I was under the impression, maybe I didn't understand this, that this $10,000 was strictly for closing costs and down payment. That's what I've been told. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it's not money they can actually use?
It's money they can use for down payment.
Right.
In this environment, most cases, you won't be able to use it for down payment unless the lender that you're working with knows how to structure the deal as such. But most likely it'll be used for down payment assistance.
Right. And you said that you have a list of lenders?
Yes.
And you also have a brochure that we can send
Eric,
in?
there's some brochures out there?
We've got some here at City Hall, and Keith is, whenever I need more, he sends me more.
Okay. We got brochures.
Is this limited to the city limits of Belleville?
Yes, it's limited to city limits of Belleville. We know some individual cities have some nuances. If something comes up where it's city, sometimes it's a Belleville address, but you're not entirely sure, at that point, just give us a call and we can give you guys a little bit more direction.
When the governor's office first called me, I asked that question. They did say that they were starting out with the intent was the Carthage city limits. But once again, I think that, they'll have to pursue it if it goes elsewhere, but I understand a lot of people are a couple feet out of city. So, if we're okay, we're gonna get the realtors with Keith. We're gonna try to get Keith back here. If the realtors and Keith agree to another public meeting, we can host it here, we can host it elsewhere. But we certainly want to promote this because I think it's good for the city. So Keith, thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this very important program. And I let Governor Quinn's assistant know a few weeks ago that we were very pleased to be chosen.
Thank you very much. And again, any questions, I will leave information. You guys can also reach out to Eric. And
Yeah, Eric here in the Economic Development Office has got a pretty good handle on what's going on and can certainly get a hold of Keith pretty quickly too. So thank you very much. Okay. At this time, I would ask for a motion to reappoint Carol Keeley for a 3-year term on the library board. Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood. Aye. Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Silsby. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Moretti. Aye. Musgrove. Aye. Orland. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd now like to ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Victoria Wygant for a 3-year term on the library board. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood. Aye. Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Silsby. Aye. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Moretti. Aye. Musgrove. Aye. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to at this time ask for the reappointment of Ed Diddleman for a 5-year term on the Parks Board and Rec. Motion by Alderman Randall, second by Alderman Rudowitz. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony. Aye. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Aye. Seibert. White. Aye. Moretti. Aye. Musgrove. Aye. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Last appointment, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve Marge Belt for a 5-year term on the Parks and Rec Board.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Sillsby. Aye. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Galetti. Aye. Musgrove. Aye. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Does this make these two boards fully?
We're still missing one on the library board. I'm working on someone from West Belleville to take a seat on there. I'm waiting to hear back from a person I talked to. And as far as the Parks Board, I think we're filled up, right? That fills us up.
Okay, and I thought historic preservation, did we not forward a name?
Well, there's a gentleman I'm meeting with tomorrow, couldn't meet before that, and we do have some vacancies there yet.
Yes.
We're still looking,
Yes.
so that is true, okay?
Okay, thank you.
This time, I'd ask for a motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes held May 20th, 2013.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Casilla, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes and having them filed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The executive session minutes dated September 4th, 2012, September 17th, 2012, October 1st, 2012, October 15th, 2012, December 3rd, 2012, and January 7th, 2013. Do I hear a motion to accept and file?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to accept and file the executive session minutes from September 4th, 2012, September 17th, 2012, October 1st, 2012, October 15th, 2012, December 3rd, 2012, January 7th, 2013.
We have a motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear any discussion on those minutes?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure I read someplace that it is possible to approve executive session minutes at the next executive session, whether they are released to the public at that point or not. Maybe you're not approving something that happened so many months ago, you can't remember what happened in the meeting.
You can't approve an executive session.
So you cannot approve them, you can't take any formal action during executive session.
Okay.
But then, either method is, are you talking about, this is releasing them publicly.
Right.
This is an executive session review that's required to be done every 6 months.
I understand that, but honestly, it's the first time we have seen the minutes. So you're asking us to remember the details of meetings that happened months, and in some cases, it's been over a year.
There's been some litigation on different things. Usually the city attorney and I review the minutes before we release them every 6 months. And if we think there's any chance that there's still pending litigation, or property acquisition pending, et cetera, that meets those criteria, then when in doubt, we still hold them.
Okay, I understand the logic behind it, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just asking, is there a way to get the council to approve whether it's released to the public or not?
The only way we can approve them is in a public meeting.
Okay.
So we can't approve them in an executive
Unless
closed
they're
session.
public.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second to approve these minutes and have them filed as stated. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next page. Claims, payroll, and disbursements. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the claims, payroll, and disbursements. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Kinsella. Do I hear any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Under administration, AMAL, Animated Bank, Chicago, what was that?
The debt service payment, the bond payment.
The debt service bond payment.
Okay, police department, auto accidents, 150.
That's something for the cars.
Under streets, Kimball Midwest, what?
I have to look that up, I'm not sure.
Okay, and then, I guess legal department is printing paper stuff. Planning and economic development, Emily Holtz. 30304.
Like reimbursing conferences.
And the mayor, Peggy Upholstery, 350.
fixed the seat in my car that tore 4 pair of pants. Now, let me just say this. In trying to work and cooperate, we are going to get the agenda out a day earlier. Now, on the other side of things, I'm going to ask, since you're going to have the agenda on Thursday afternoon or evening, Friday and Monday, to please call my office or staff and get these questions so we don't have to have the questions of this nature at a council meeting. We should be able to get these ahead of time. We're going to, instead of getting the agenda's out 48 hours, we're doubling it now. So please bring your questions so we can all work together at making these a little bit more expedient. Any other questions about the claims, payroll, or disbursements? Yes, ma'am.
Under legal department to the post office, $4,000. Under legal department? There's $4,000 supposed to be paid for the housing department. I'm sorry, you're right, it says legal, and then it says health and housing immediately below that.
Okay, clear it out.
That's just their. Okay, I figured that.
We have a motion and we have a second to approve the claims, payroll, disbursements. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Aye. Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Silsby. Aye. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove. Aye. Orland. Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion carries on paying the bills. In front of you was a handwritten note brought today to Emily's office. I'd ask for a motion to withdraw the application for rezoning of case number 28, May 13th. So motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler, to withdraw that item from the agenda and withdraw the request.
Okay, those people can also withdraw the request.
Correct, Emily?
Yes, he's not here tonight, he wanted to withdraw the request.
Okay? And that's what the note in front of you.
Right, okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second to accept Richard Lair's request to withdraw his zoning variance request. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 29, May 13th, Mathis, Murphy, and Richter, a sign installation permit for the area of special control in order to install one flush-mounted, indirectly illuminated sign totaling approximately 85 square feet at 23 Public Square in the C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Holt, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any discussion?
Sir,
Yes.
I just have one question in terms of how it will be maintained.
Well, they have to maintain them just like, the law firm owns the building there. So the Bank of America sign is on the same building as far as the lights going on, et cetera. They will be responsible to make sure it's in working order and not looking like an eyesore. Okay? We've never had, Mathis Murphy has done a great job with that building. I see your question in some cases, but I don't think, they're a local group right here that's very good about being a community partner. We have a motion and a second to approve the zoning board's recommendation and have the proper ordinance drawn. Correct? Everybody understands what the motion is? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 30, May 13th, Tara Wagner, requesting a use variance in order to operate a massage therapy business from 215 North Delaware Avenue, located in the A1 single-family zoning district.
Your Honor, I recommend that we deny this and concur with the zoning board.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor, gentlemen and gentlewomen here. I think that one of the issues that I listened to the questions was that we are, by denying it, would be anti-business. And it is the location, that when people have a home in a single-family zoning area, they expect to have the right to have enjoyment of their home. I've had this in my own neighborhood where we had a business that was distracting, where I couldn't use the phone in my office inside my house with the door closed. And this was supposed to have been a quiet thing. So it isn't just this. It isn't the type of business, it's any business. We denied several businesses since I've been on the council. One was for a psychic business in the home that would not have much traffic. And so I think we need to be consistent that people that buy homes in the single-family zoning areas deserved us to protect that right, that we keep their home single-family in their neighborhood. So I ask you to join with me in a no vote on that.
Is there anyone else that'd like to comment? Yes, sir.
The petition that she handed you, how many signatures are on it?
Petition was, what, 24, you stated, ma'am?
No, the petition in favor.
Oh, in favor.
Well, these were people who had previously signed the other petition, they wanted to law to support.
I thought she
And
handed
then I
us.
have, yes, 103.
Right, and what were the petition?
I didn't see that one. I didn't look at that one.
What was the amount opposed?
Approximately 24, I think, ma'am, is that what you said? I noticed those are, they got a glance at the addresses in the vicinity.
They are.
They're addresses in the
There's
vicinity.
no-
And I think, again, I think Alderman Schmidt brought up some good points. It's not that I don't think this council, as I sat here as an alderman, would be against this business. We're not against business, but I think the question that's really being raised is changing single family to a business. It's a matter of setting precedent and a matter of, and I think too it makes a difference. If you were living there, it could be a home, possibly a home occupation, right, Emily?
She would still need a variance if she were living here for home occupation for this particular business.
It's just, it's something I think a lot of people in neighborhoods really value, and it's nothing, I have to say, it's nothing personal. From everything I hear, I've heard good things about the couple and et cetera, but it's just the question is about whether or not to sacrifice the single-family zoning situation, and that's what the question is. And we really can't go into any more questions right now. Let's council. Yes, ma'am.
A couple of things. On the petition, it didn't have labeled who all her aldermen were. And I think this is something the zoning board needs to correct. They do not put my name on any of the applications. And as Mr. Kinsella said at the hearing that night, it was his and Mr. Heisler's ward. Well, I beg the difference. It is every ward, since I'm an alderman at large. These people should have my name so that they can contact me. They do not get it. I mean, you just leave my name off all of it. And as far as this, I live in this neighborhood, and to see another vacant house, that will give like 6 or 7 vacant houses we have in a 2-block area. If you could only give her maybe an allowance time and say, all right, try to sell the house, so it's active and that there's somebody in there. I don't know if there could be a thing made so that if, okay, we're gonna give you 6 months to try to sell the house, but you could have, or a year to have the business in there, because it's gonna be a quiet business. I think they deserve a chance. I don't know what the rules and the laws are as far about amending something like that to make it, give them a time frame. They just don't want it there. So, but the zoning also should start putting on the applications.
Well, we will deal with that, Alderman Schneider. That's a reasonable request. Alderman White?
Yeah, were these petitions available to the zoning board when they made the decision?
Well, did these copies go to the zoning board, folks, maybe? They did yours, the one did yours, guys? Okay, and that is truly the place where they kind of examine and have a little bit more time, because the evening is devoted to those cases.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Can we look over the 103 in favor? Because we did not get a chance.
We can head to the Ward 1 Alderman here. Any other questions from the council? Yes, sir.
Your Honor, since apparently they didn't have all their signatures, how do you table this and go back and look at it again?
You can, as a council, you can do whatever the majority rules. You know, I think I guess the question to what I will say to the council is, I don't think it's a matter of how many people are for and how many are against it. I think the question has to be raised, are you for granting variances in single-family neighborhoods? Now, it can be based on the circumstances, so there you may weigh numbers, but I think, part of it is just a simple question about zoning, if you're, for doing that for business. Years ago, they did many of them that we inherited, and we have some situations today that are very unique in different neighborhoods. So, we can do whatever you like, whatever the majority of this body likes. Right now, we currently have a motion and a second to deny the request for the variance by Tara Wagner.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question for the city attorney, actually. Can a motion be made to amend the variance to add some sort of a sunshine provision to it, to where it would have a time frame of which it would expire?
Well, no, actually, the way the variance was sought was just a general variance. What you have now is you have a recommended denial, you take a 2/3 majority to approve of it.
Your Honor, are there other businesses in that area that want to do something?
There's no, correct me if I'm wrong, are there businesses on Delaware?
Yes, mechanic shop.
I'm sorry?
There's a mechanic business on Delaware.
And that was one that was there from years ago when they grandfathered in.
Yes.
That was grandfathered before they rezoned that single family.
But it's still there.
I don't know, I'm not saying, it was before zoning took effect, it was there. Alderman Hayes.
Can you explain the 2/3 again?
Well, you've got a recommendation from the, of denial from your zoning board, so it takes a supermajority to approve over that by statute.
Oh, you're talking about approving the application. Correct.
Okay. Council members, we have a motion and a second to deny. And I vote is to deny. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
No.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
No.
Schneider.
No.
The ayes have it. Let me count real quick.
11-4.
11-4. So the ayes do have it, and it is denied. Okay. Case number 31.
Case number 31, May 13th, Ricky Ruman requesting a use variance in order to place a mobile office on the property to be used as a car dealership at 8421 Old St. Louis Road, located in the A1 Single Family Zoning District.
Honor, I'd like to make a motion to, I'm in favor of extending this, but I'd like to make a motion to give us some time to work this out, because there's many problems with it. There was supposed to be a building built on this lot by September the 17th of this year. There's nothing started, and it's getting close. The explanation, we've got to work out some differences here. A trailer was placed on the lot. That's against the rules. He's already received a ticket that says that's illegal. He has to remove it. So he's going to have to build the building. In the original motion, it was originally, by the way, denied by the zoning board. In the council meeting, we actually said he could proceed with the business, but it has extending problems because his lot that he owns is in a different city. And he's storing cars on this lot, and his plan was to sell cars on it. I'll let you speak, but I wanted to tell the story here. It got very complicated because he had to get a decision from the state, a special piece of permit to allow him to store vehicles to sell on a lot that he doesn't have a used car lot on. So he's doing that on a monthly basis. Anyway, like I said, there's many things here to be worked out. The building's going to have to be built, but we're getting close to the winter months against for building, is he's gonna have to bring in, the water is already there, I understand. The electricity is on the edge of the property, but there's nothing to hook it to. So you're gonna have to have a building. And that's gonna take, I'd like to give an extension of 6 months, which would bring it up to what, around March 30th of next year.
For the 6 months being from when the first deadline.
Right. The original deadline was September of this year. I think another 6 months should be inadequate to give him time to build the building. However, I had planned to make a motion to give us time to work out these details. And he misunderstood. He thought I was saying no. I'm not. I'd like to.
I got a question. The lot that you're storing those other cars on, that's in the county?
No, it's the lot you're talking about in the city. See, this has kind of been a misunderstanding since we started. I didn't want a storage lot. I wanted to put in a used car lot. And I don't want to keep this building there, but I mean, after what I paid for the asphalt and other loans that I got, I mean, the way cash checks got held back this year and, you know, my inventory is still high. I mean, we started selling cars off of this in February, and I've sold them over $150,000 in the city. I don't know what your percentage quite is off of that.
1%.
Huh?
1%.
I sold $150,000 in cars with no sign out front, no building, and I mean, I've lost deals because I had to pay people to the other lot to write deals up, and they didn't want to do it. And I'm only asking, I mean, I can make this mobile office, a skirt around it, I can make it look like an actual business. There's a couple other car lots in town that are operating with the same type of building.
Haven't you been given a ticket to get that trailer off of there?
The only reason the trailer's sitting there is because we had it over on the other piece of property that's in the county, and Stuckey Township was calling and yelling about it, so we just stuck it over there behind the lot. We haven't even been inside of it.
Okay, so, but my point is, Stuckey Township doesn't want it, and it's not.
Well, it was just sitting right along it with wheels and, I mean.
Okay, Emily, do you have something you want to say?
No, I can answer any questions if anyone has, so I know this is actually a really complicated case, so I'm happy answering it as well.
I'm trying to be here for the long haul. I mean, I'm not trying to go nowhere.
So are you still planning to build?
I would like to, but I mean, with what I'm paying for the asphalt.
So let me ask, so you don't have any plans in motion right now to build?
Not yet. That's what I'm trying to apply for variance to be able to use this for a couple of years maybe to save some money on it. I mean.
But that's not what you originally came for, with your request.
Right, but I mean, things just aren't going like, I mean, the little one I've sold out of there right now is just operating with hardly anything. I mean, if I could have some type of office there just for a while, I mean, I want to be there. I'm 34 years old. I mean, I plan on being there.
There is no request for variance here. The motion that was made at your last meeting says, within 1 year of September 17, 2012, an office building shall be constructed on the premises and a full-time employee shall be on the premises during operating hours. A site plan for the construction of the building shall be submitted to the city officials pursuant to city ordinances. The site plan does not show, that you did provide, doesn't show a building.
Right, I mean, this was a lot with nothing on it.
Okay, so here's what I'd like to ask. You're not as prepared tonight as I thought maybe you might be to give us some answers. But I think what the question is, and the deadline is, there's no science and there's no, from listening to you, there's no plans to build a building by the September 17th date. And that's what the date says, right?
That's what it says.
I'd like to table this to the next council meeting so that you have a chance to decide if you're going to tell this council how you're going to be able to attempt to meet that deadline, or just a reasonable time that you're going to ask for specifically and what you're going to do. We need to see some plans, and we need to see some activity towards, I know there's also been a lot of calls to my office, Rick.
It's been bumpy, but I mean, the preacher got along. That's the only problem that we have.
Okay, so I just think that we got to get down to enforcing and living up to the original agreement. That's really what the question is, right, Mr. Musgrove?
Right.
I just asked for a motion for 2 weeks so that you can come better prepared and answer us how you want to move forward.
I mean, it's more of a financial matter right now at this point. I mean,
Well, then you need to put that in writing, explain to us, but I think,
the
to do nothing, if you're not gonna have any attempt to build a building by the date you asked for us to approve last year, then I think the surrounding neighbors and people who came in and had questions and actually in some cases even supported your request, I think are feeling like they're let down and they want to know what the city's going to do. You did get a ticket for the temporary building and it's got to go.
We haven't even used it.
I know, but it can't be stored there.
Well, stick it back on Daryl's other beach property where nobody can see it. I mean, you know, Tenius has got tons of them right down the road.
But that's zoned differently.
I understand.
Right, Emily?
Yeah, that's industrial.
That's industrial.
What about other car lots around town that are operating out of the buildings? I mean, one guy's operating out of a shed. I mean, I don't want this building there forever, but if I had a little bit of support to be able to use it for a couple of years to make some more money, I don't.
But you should have, okay, but when you came to us last year, you were very strong in that this is what I'm gonna do. And then I understand. I understand. And it wasn't like last year was right before the economy tanked. You know, last year was 2012. We just, I think, would you agree that we give 2 weeks to try to come back with a?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to extend it for 2 weeks.
Okay, so, and Alderman Musgrove making a motion to extend this request, this decision, for 2-week period to the next city council meeting, and seconded by Alderman Arlett, the two
Is this
Aldermen.
motion, Your Honor, including the statement you made earlier that he's also going to be bringing back some kind of plans or?
We need some written plan, some
So we know
action,
exactly
and
where
plan
he's
of action,
going.
what you're gonna do. Would you
Not
guys
part of the
agree?
motion? Right.
Okay, make that part of the motion. Yes, ma'am.
Part of the motion.
I'd like to clarify with Alderman whose wording is that there are no circumstances where you would be happy with a trailer that it must be a building.
I'm afraid it has to be building now, because it's in an A1 setup.
Okay, I would just like to see, since he already has the trailer, the cost of what it would take to install that on a semi-permanent basis.
I mean, but he's admitting he's taken the trailer off because Tookie Township gave him a little difficulty being over there. It's not like, sounds like he didn't really plan to bring the trailer here necessarily.
Another car dealer calling Sticky Township on me. The only problems I mainly had is another car dealer.
Okay, but this is why the saga's getting, you know. Got a motion and a second to table it for 2 weeks with the understanding that you come back with a written plan. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Go on to case number
32. May 13th, Michael Goodell requesting a use variance in order to use the property at 909 and 911 Prairie as a 2-family dwelling located in the A1 single-family zoning district.
What's your recommendation from the zoning board?
They recommend that we approve.
Is that correct, Emily?
Yes.
So there was a recommendation to approve. Do I hear a motion to concur with the zoning board's recommendation?
I'll second.
Prairie Town, not Ward 5. Prairie would be in Ward 7, right? Is that correct?
I think so.
Okay, Ward 7.
I think.
Okay, we have a motion, you made a motion to, I'm sorry, this didn't, all the, didn't hear. So we have a motion by Alderman Hall to approve the request, approve the zoning board's recommendation for approving this variance for our case number 32. Do I hear a second? Second, okay, this,
Okay, just in here.
we have a motion, we have a second to approve the variance. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Silsby. Aye. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
Motion carries. Case 33.
Case number 33, May 13th, Judge Kim Shelton requesting a use variance in order to operate a child daycare center at 423 South Illinois Street, located in the C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Hayden to approve their request for this application, this variance. Discussion. All in favor of this motion and have the proper ordinance drawn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oral reports. This one here it was at committee quite a while ago. We talked about it in executive session at the last meeting, if you remember. I'm going to I'm just going to ask that we have a motion to approve the right-of-way acquisitions for citizens to Bellevue Park Bike Trail. And if you read 1 through 7, Memorial Hospital donated the right-of-way, which would have been $111,500. St. Henry's Roman Catholic Church will get $17,107. Catholic Diocese of Belleville will get $95,893. Facade Inc., $600. Jacqueline Brammer, $2,505. Bowles Properties, $300. And Professional Resource Development, $16,800. Do I hear a motion to approve? Motion by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Rudowitz. Do I hear discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. This is an awful lot of money just to get the right of ways. How much is the trail itself going to cost?
Trails with the grant, I don't know who wants to, we got half the grant approved already of money. The total project, Tim?
Total project is $700,000 with the right of way.
Okay, and what is the demand for this?
To link our trails. And it was in the budget, it was talked about during the budget process, and it's been part of the park plan, and really part of, well, not this last time, but I'm sure it'll be discussed in the comprehensive plan as we go to link trails and try to make the city more desirable for young families to want to live here.
Okay, so the answer I guess I'm looking for was linking the other. Because this
Absolutely.
particular portion.
No,
not
this
that attractive.
will take us, this is another section to be accomplished, which ultimately will help us have a complete trail system throughout. Okay.
Time?
Tim, time?
This is going to be on August 2nd, not late.
So after that's all weather dependent. I've learned to say. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to approve these acquisitions. Roll call.
Iceland. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Smith.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Silsby.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to open a new library checking account and to transfer funds from the previously approved for library to a new dedicated checking account. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Iceland. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Heisler.
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf of the Master Sewer Committee, I'd like to make the following motion. A motion to approve the long-term control plan construction pay request number 35 from Corey, Luke, John, and Juvenile, Wade, and Mercer for a total amount of $455,493.75. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Hayden. Do I hear any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Alderman Kinsella.
On behalf of the Economic Development and Annexation Committee, I move to approve the development agreement with John C. Conwright Trust and Conwright Incorporated for the property at 116 and 120 East Main Street.
Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Schmidt. We talked, normally before we had two committees joining when we had, so there was quite a few aldermen there. And we went to executive session because that was the first we had talked about it. It's since been talked about, there's been an article written, John's been pretty open about it. Unless John has something that he wants to do in executive session, I think we probably have brought everything pretty much out in the public, that if there's no objection, John, we would go ahead and have the debate on the floor now. Any other questions? Okay. So hearing that, we won't, we have a motion and we have a motion and we have a second to approve this development agreement. I'll open it up for discussion.
Your Honor, I'd like for John to answer Bob's comment that we had before the meeting about the facade. The question has been brought up about be in the building. And my response was, is they'll come show me, we'll talk about it. Very, you know, if there's something we can do, then keep it the way they want it. You know, they'll do what we're at all years. They're going to come to us and they agree to come to us and talk and show us what they want. Not really exactly for sure, but we'll see what we can do. It's not in the historic district, it's my understanding. And if there's any way we work with them, we will.
Not to stop you, not to stop questioning, but Eric's handing out, I think he thought we were going to go into executive session. The development agreement Eric's handed out has a few modifications on it. In the blue are a few things that our new city attorney recommended that we added some language. Yeah, yes, absolutely. And in the red, we can talk about this. John, since the meeting that night, was, after talking to a few people, there was a little confusion. First of all, the expenses, we talked about $500,000 additionally he's going to invest, which he's sure is going to go over that, but he's a little worried that all of a sudden he can be penalized if it doesn't total. So he came back and asked us if we would consider $450, but understand. Huh?
I asked that, I mentioned that at the meeting.
I know, but it wasn't written in the original.
That's correct.
But one of the things that also wasn't really clear was that John's also doing some remodeling as a part of this in the existing store.
That's correct.
And he wanted to make sure that that was, Eric did change that language, but to make sure it was very clear that there was nothing hidden here. He's going to make sure that when these stores potentially open up and go from one to another, that the flooring is the same and that it looks, you know, that it's a nice blend. And he's going to correct some things. So some of the wear in his old store that's happened over the years. So no, take your time. Blue is some things. Garrett, you want to comment with a couple things you want?
Yes. In reviewing the development agreement, because the title company is going to want a real estate sale agreement for purposes of closing, I just added a provision where I would prepare a real estate sale agreement incorporating the terms of the sales. And you've already determined, or what's already been placed in the development agreement itself is the installment terms, the monetary compensation. But the other conditions that would be in the real estate sale agreement are standard what would be in favor of the city, like general warranty, clear title, evidence of clear title, title commitment from the title company, those types of things that would be naturally associated with a title closing.
Okay, so what do you say to Mr. Hagberg's question about the 2 fiscal years? But it's not really specific about that.
And we can amend that. What we talked about, we talked about half of the property acquisition at the time of closing, and the other half on or before, I think we said, the first 30 days of the new fiscal year. Of the new fiscal year. So it would be on or before May 30th of 2014. Sometime after May 1st.
I don't have a problem with that. I just like to see it.
And we can, with that amendment, we can
Under the terms of this, you're only required to make the payment by the end of the fiscal year. But we would like to, based on the communications between the parties, this real estate sale agreement would indicate dates certain for each installment.
Okay, so.
The reason it's fiscal years is a funding.
Which then has priority, the real estate sale or the development agreement?
Well, for purposes of the transfer of property and the payment, it would be the real estate sale agreement if there's a date certain.
Okay, but that will not come back to the council.
Well, under your ordinances, it's a function of the city attorney to draft these agreements.
Right.
So this would approve it, because what you're saying is that this sale that you're approving as part of the development agreement is subject to a real estate sale agreement in the form approved by the city attorney. It's a function of the city attorney in your own ordinances.
So what also will happen then, Alderman Holt, is automatically Jamie's going to have to budget the other half of that payment in next year's budget. As we come forward, she's going to remind us that we've already committed to this, it's already been voted on, we have an obligation to pay this before May 30th of 2014.
Okay, but this is just a new way of doing it. We haven't done with the insert of the real estate sales.
Well, we've had them, I think we've always had them, it's just Garrett's saying that we need to put the language in this.
The way that I have done it historically is we have a real estate sale agreement upon which the closing would be based that would require the normal thing things that would be associated with closing, like clear title, title commitment, those types of things. They're all perfunctory, but, you know, this
But
is
it's good to have things
just
written down.
by which I'm impressed.
Yes, sir.
Could we have 2 or 3 minute recess to look at it?
Yeah. We can take a 5-minute recess. Some people might need to make a bathroom. It's already an hour and a half of the meeting. We will reconvene here in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make you happy, Gabby?
Hey, young man, how's it going?
We're going to get back in session. We have a motion on the floor to approve Mr. Conkright, and a second to approve the development agreement. You've had the one that was brought forward, the final draft that was worked out with some recommendations from our city attorney and a few things that we talked about. I will ask now if there's any more questions before we would take this to a vote. Ben, we had a, yes, sir. Alderman Randall.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, going back over a line item basis here, we're talking about paying $185,000 for a building that we are going to tear down to then resurface and turn into a parking lot. And I understand that that's the appraised value. Item number 2, the 2 parcels at $75,000, I think the discovery during executive session, we came to the knowledge that the appraised value was $14,900. At $75,000, okay, that's more than 5 times the appraised value. Got a concern about that. Item number 3, I think we were talking about the bid estimate for the parking lot, $150,000, is it?
What I told you that night was, the rough estimate we had was probably done over a year or so. The market we're seeing some unbelievable prices. Roughly, and I don't have it here in front of me, there was a rough estimate of $37,000 for demolition and another roughly $100,000, $115,000 for additional cost of asphalting, compacting, and those things. We've been getting some tremendous bids right now. I can't tell you exactly, but it's going to be, as I told you the other night, right in the ballpark of $150,000.
Okay. Item number 6, the abatement of sales tax on building materials used exclusively for remodeling and facade improvements for the 4 addresses there. Savings at $15,000.
That's a guesstimate.
Yes. And then not knowing, okay, what the rebate would be on the incremental property taxes, taking us down to item number 8, the facade improvement reimbursement estimated at $15,000. Totaling up items 1, 2, 3, 6, and then 8, we've got $440,000 as an estimated investment on behalf of the city here. And if we're talking about perhaps realizing additional sales tax revenue in the neighborhood of what were we discussing, $4,500 about?
Yeah, I think roughly. He was trying to be conservative, but he told you tonight they currently bring the city about $23,000 of sales tax a year. And between $300,000 to $400,000, they say $300,000 additional revenue, but it's going to be between $300,000 and $400,000. So $300,000 is $4,500, right, Jamie? We calculated that's 1.5% there. So it'd be about another $4,500 on top of the $23,000 already. So we'd be about $27,500 based on his history. Again, as stated before, as I told all of you, and it was brought up the other night, Mr. Conkright has been our biggest retail anchor downtown. He's never asked for anything before, but I think the one thing maybe we did a disservice to John on, and he wasn't disagreeing with us, but we probably should have just brought as a separate issue just the purchase of the property. Because lumping it in with the development agreement, it makes sense, but on the other hand, if this council in the next few years wants to build a deck so that we can handle more business downtown, and that we can probably jumpstart the loft building, which is gonna, people aren't, as we talked, people aren't gonna carry their groceries 2 blocks. They're gonna have to be close, at least one car is gonna have to get parking up close if they're gonna build these lofts. So to take that to the next level is something that I would encourage this council on a separate issue to purchase the building, and then we are done with any property acquisition. Whenever we think time and money, and the indicators indicate we're ready to build that deck, then we have all the pieces of the puzzle together, and then we can pull the trigger on that project when we're so ready. None of us can sit here and say what Mr. Conkright or anybody who might own that property in a few years from now might want. The economy's slowly starting to get better. The values are starting to get, maybe they're going to praise higher. I don't know. We get a few more things positive happening downtown. Heck, we just repaved Washington Street for all those business owners. It's got to help their property values too. I think that the one issue is purchasing the building for future investment of a parking deck, and we'll have that. The other thing is there's 2 empty buildings there that, and most of you went through them if you had a chance. I think 13 or 14 of you did. The buildings need a ton of work. What we do know is John Conkright has a proven track record with the city of Belleville. He's fixed up his buildings and brought them all up to code. I've never had an inspector say John cuts corners. And right now, the way they sit right now, I won't deny that they are a concern for the fire department and me sitting in the middle of that block with some of the needs that need to be addressed. They are potentially a danger. John puts the money, and John's admitted to me and to you all here too, he's given you the best estimate he can, but he knows as a businessman, there's hardly any construction project that doesn't go more than what you estimate. Very few of them go under. He also is going to have to, besides the sales price, he's going to have about $150,000 of new inventory he's going to purchase. So those are things that they do and don't play into this equation. So he's got a significant investment. The one thing you heard John say, and I asked John this again probably today, if the council chooses not to complete this deal, John's indicated to us that he will tell him tomorrow that he's not going to buy the buildings. And that's just because this is one of those, if not but far, in his equations and his numbers, he can't proceed with the project. So, but I think keep in mind, the sale of the building for the parking, it will create probably a few more than 28 stalls because John originally wanted 10, and then we didn't talk about those 6 stalls that we forgot we had over there with us. So we're probably more like 30 stalls that we're going to pick up for the public, which is big. I don't disagree with you, but when you're averaging out all those costs, that's pretty expensive per stall. But it's the last piece of the puzzle we need if we want that deck to ever work.
I understand, Your Honor. What I was going to, and John, I want you to know how much I enjoyed the tour with you and Beth of the building and the concept that you're putting before us. But I'm looking at it from a fiscal responsibility standpoint for the city and the taxpayers. And at $440,000, okay, at $4,500, that's over 97 years, okay, to break even.
But once again, Alderman, I think we still, if you're talking about, for the new aldermen that are here, abatement on sales tax and building materials is pretty normal for most every project. Most, not all, but pretty normal, okay? Facade improvement, when people come in and do the facade program that we have budgeted in the downtown TIFs, in TIF 3, if they've shown and they get the approved facades, approved what they're going to do, and they show that they've spent X amount of dollars, they get a certain percent back. All those improvements on Main Street to lift up those older buildings and clean them up in the front. In John's case here, he's got to put in some new windows because some of them are broken and some of them are not no longer the old glass. That's not safe. So he's got some pretty big expenses there, plus all these other things he wants to do. The facades, once again, even if John didn't expand his inventory or didn't expand his business, anybody could apply, and we would probably grant that facade just to see that improved on Main Street. So while they are part of the package, when you look at the total thing, we would probably be doing a facade if anybody invested X number of $1,000 on fixing up the facade in the front, we'd probably do that. Keep in mind, the third part of this is, that building hasn't been on tax rolls for property tax for 20-plus years. So for 5 years, if we rebate John half of whatever it ends up coming to, and we really don't know, but right now, John, you pay about how much in property tax on your buildings, the bins?
30,000 on the ones on downtown.
Okay. We know that it'll be a pretty fair amount for that neighborhood. So we would just rebate him back half of that for those 2 new buildings for 5 years. And none of that we've ever received before. So, and that will go back into the TIF, because that's in TIF 17, which will then be available to us to use on other projects. So, it's your choice, ladies and gentlemen. It is a visionary thing. It is 2 separate projects on one hand, and it's also a businessman who's really has, when times were tough downtown, hung in there with us, and so he's trying to grow his business for his daughter and his granddaughter and family, and it's a chance to really solidify and grow retail in a very tough, unique downtown market. Alderman Hayden?
Your Honor, my concern is, making sure that what we're paying for with property tax dollars is appropriate. I've not seen the appraisals, and even if so, I think proper due diligence to protect the taxpayer would mean that we would do our own appraisals.
We called the appraisals. I ordered these appraisals.
Have we seen them? I've not seen them.
Well, I had them here the other night at the meeting. Eric's got it right now. If you want to bring it, I got one, I think mine's on my desk. It's from Tade. He's one of the most regular people appraising downtown property on a regular basis, Scott Tade. And the appraisal for the building was at $185, and the appraisal for the lot was at $14,900, $905, something like that, just at around almost $15,000. And like John said to you earlier tonight, he could have
That's what I was going to get. We need to explain to the public that if we're getting to the purchase of parcels in item 2, collective sum of $75,000 and they're appraised at 15, where did the inflated number come from?
I think what you heard John say when he and I had this discussion, he's asking for the 185 and the 75 as a total package for the building and for the lot, as a total thing. He's losing $450 a month rent from the yoga. He's got a contract with them for an extensive period of time, and he's got his frame shop in there that he's going to have to pick up and move into another part of his buildings now to keep that going. And it's very viable back there, but it's been done well. So he's moving space. He's going to have to remodel space. He doesn't know what the total remodel job in that whole building is going to be, but those buildings, we believe as staff that retail in those 2 empty buildings is.
I understand, but then the point of the matter is, then if the $75,000 above the appraisal price is to make up differences of losses here and there, then somehow, and maybe this is a question for a city attorney, then it really be straightforward to the public needs to be documented as such. Don't be saying we're paying $75,000.
When it's his lot, he believes is worth more than $15,000. The question you have to answer is, do you, and viewing the whole total picture that's been laid out here, if that's a hardship for you, then you have to make that decision. But I think as I talked to several of the aldermen who approached me after the meeting last week, Thursday, I think the comment was made by several, you have to look at the big picture and look at the total picture. And I think that's what we're asking to do. Alderman Holt.
Okay, but I believe we are looking at the big picture. I understand we can't just look at the $4,500 extra dollars of sales tax that he'll be possibly bringing in, but hopefully the customers, but still, those numbers are never going to add up to the $440,000. Yes, we'll have a piece of property that will get people used to parking on, and we'll continue saying, well, we're going to close this and we can build this up.
I hope that we have the proper infrastructure soon. That just means downtown's getting busier and there's a need.
Oh, okay, could you tell us, if we were told by both you and Mr. Conrad that there are other offers on the table for the building?
I can't go into detail. We've been told that. One of them did come here to meet with me. It's not retail. They have, I don't know that they've ever put an offer on it, but there was one group that came to meet with me here at City Hall. But, you know, they have asked to be confidential.
Okay, so, all right, and I respect that, and I understand it's not being used, but nevertheless, it won't be sitting there. It will be used and developed.
It's
So
possible.
I see that as a plus for the city. Will those people be coming and asking for?
The one group that came to me already was asking but they weren't as far along as John to have any specific business, you know, arrangements, or anything spelled out that had a particular request, what they needed or wanted. You know, like I said, you know, it was very, you know, still in the early stages, but I do know of the one, and John was told by the owner of the property that there was 2 people besides him. I do know the one that came to see me.
Okay, I have a question about the lofts. When I went on my tour, I thought I was told that air conditioning units would be on the 2nd floor of the properties he is proposing to acquire, so that there would never be viable space for anything if that's where they were located.
John, you want to explain that?
Sure. The reason I said that was put on the 2nd floor because I was told it's so much more efficient and less expensive to do. And my thinking was it's going to be a few years before the parking garage would ever get built. At that particular time, they'd be moved up. But in the meantime, if I want to make this float, I got to hold every expense down I can. So we're going to have small units put in there. We're going to put a drop ceiling there so we can have a fence going, and it would be much less expensive for me to do now. Moving those air conditioners at a later time, 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, is going to be minimal. I'm trying to make it happen now.
You've got to build all the ductwork then.
Well, the ductwork that we have right now will not work. It's dirty, it's outdated, it's not, some of it's just hanging where you can't even see it. It's just hanging out where you can see it, but you all know it's going to be recessed, it's going to be a first-class operation. It will be much less expensive for us to open up and try to get this thing going now and relocate the air conditioners at a later date if the garage goes through. If the parking garage goes through, you know, yeah, it might take another $10,000 or $12,000, but that's peanuts in comparison to the total picture. Another thing I want to bring out real quick, we're talking about me increasing sales tax. Think the other merchants downtown, they're going to be doing more sales tax revenue too, because their business is going to increase because there's more parking. Not just the sales tax that I'm generating. It's a total downtown.
I just want to say something. I think we do have to, like the mayor said, look at the big picture. We're not just acquiring property. That is a separate thing. We're looking at a businessman who has been here for 36 years and who has stayed with us, who is a destination. I don't know how many people I've talked to in the past week, both from Belleville and out, who have said they come to Ben's. I go to Michael's and I ask for something. I go to Hobby Lobby and I ask for something, and they keep saying, Ben's. So I now go to Ben's. All right, and there's a lot of people that do that. And one of the biggest things, and a lot of people didn't know that, was this is a family-owned small business that, you know, the father and his daughters. And how awesome is that? How many places around this country, around this state of Illinois, have empty downtowns with abandoned buildings that would, you know, give anything to have been? I think we're lucky to have him. We'll have a big destination on Main Street. And,
But those same arguments were used to give Gary Karasik money. That
We're talking,
Well, I'm
you're talking
looking at
apples and
one
oranges
case
here.
here, okay?
You're talking, huh? Gary Karasik had a project that got started, but had really no track record with, you know, John's had a 36-year track record with downtown Belleville. That is not a comparison to that scenario you're comparing it to. There's not a comparison. And I will tell you, and John may not want to get into this, but John was very frustrated and very concerned about the time we were wrapping up the streets on East Main. And he knew too, if some of those things downtown started to unravel at one time, there was a question at that point in time if John was going to continue to stay down there and reinvest. Now, he's made a lot of commitment happen since then. And this is another major step. but without John and Beth down there as a major anchor, our retail is a massive void. And by this, we have a chance to grow the retail and encourage more to buy into the retail in that downtown. It's been a discussion at Main Street ever since I was president of Main Street, back 2002 and 3. It continues to be discussion of there in the chamber to encourage and to foster more retail downtown. And part of this whole thing has been hinged around parking. And so we're dealing with parking in a not maybe necessarily a large garage scale, but approximately 30 more stalls. And it's also dealing with encouraging a guy who's been here for 36+ year track record to go ahead and take that next leap of faith for another $500,000 invested by them into more retail, more inventory, more remodeling, and it cleans up 2 buildings that are just an eyesore right now. Ken?
Your Honor, I'd like to mention that out of that 440,000, they came up with 185 is for the building, 150 is for tear down, and if you only paid 17 for the 2 lots, you'd still be talking $350,000 that we would have to pay if we wanted to build a garage. We have to pay it anyway. It might be more expensive 5 years down the road. I think we're at a point where we can capture this at this time, and it can also help the downtown business. So I ask you to vote for it.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to amend this agreement and that state that we will pay, as outlined in the Tate Appraisal Company, April 10, 2013, that we will pay $185,000 for tract 1. We will pay $14,900 as appraised for tract 2. Thus subtracting that from the $75,000 in item 2, responsibilities of the city, that the remainder $60,100 be placed into a separate itemized incentive agreement for Mr. Contract. I have a very hard difficulty with paying a price for property that is not what the appraisal is. And if we're going to do an agreement, let's do it right and say what it is what it is. If we're paying for property, this is the value of the property. If we're paying for other things, then let's itemize them out. I'm not necessarily against that, but let's not hide it under property.
There's been no hiding.
I'm not, that's the way it looks. If you're paying $75,000
We can get
for
2 more
a
appraisals.
public document, this is $14,900, how do you explain that to the public?
But you agree with me, we can order, John can get an appraisal, we can get a 3rd appraisal, and pretty much guarantee you, all 3 of them will be different.
I don't think that they're going to be, I don't think any of them is going to come up from $14,900 to $75,000. Let's do it right, Mayor. Let's do it right.
So you're asking what, Mr. Hayden?
I'm making a motion to amend the agreement that we will pay $185,000 for tract 1, $14,900 for tract 2, and item number 2, under responsibilities of the city, we're just talking about spending $75,000 paid over 2 years, that additional $60,100 be placed into a separate incentive package that can be itemized out as to the rationale of it. But let's state it what it is. We're not paying, otherwise we are stating to the public that we are paying $60,100 more than the appraisal price that you have. And I can't do that. That's not being honest with the public.
We've been very honest. It's all out in the open here. We've been extremely honest.
So let's make the agreement match what we're doing.
Okay, are you going to then put the $60,000 into other incentives, like continuing to extend the TIF for his taxes? Is that what you're proposing?
However we got to word it to get, if the man needs assistance, I don't, and I respect what Mr. Randall is saying, that there's definitely some concern, because you can argue that what is in it for the taxpayers? When are the taxpayers going to see their gain on their investment back? But I also understand that there's various different extraneous, differences going on there. I understand that. I've been involved in businesses. The anchor store there does bring in business to the city of Belleville. It does support other businesses. If you want to call it a glitches, if we're going to have an agreement, Your Honor, let's make the agreement match what we're really doing. And that's my motion to amend.
I'd like to ask the attorney if we can state that we will give $185,000 for the building, $14,900 for the 2 parcels, and a cash incentive of $60,100. Can we do that? That would on the same amount of money.
You have a motion on the floor for the original agreement?
Yes.
Just need a motion to.
I made a
And the original motion has a motion and a second to approve. We have a motion by Alderman, an amendment by Alderman Hayden. I've yet to hear a second. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Schneider. So we would have to vote on the amendment, but I'm a little bit unclear yet on the amendment. You're still offering the same package?
Would you consider just offering the $14,900, saving that money and using it for knocking down the building?
What I'm understanding, and Mr. Conkright is he's needing this amount of money to make the project go. And that is indeed the case.
That's the case.
I respect that. But let's do it right and pay the money towards various things as it is. Otherwise, when you're paying $75,000 for, we have an appraised, right here, $14,900. How do you explain that we're paying $75,000 for an appraised property at $14,900?
I hear what you're saying, Mr. Hayes, but I think we've explained it in several ways.
I know how you've explained it. What we're saying is we're giving him extra money to promote his project and saying we're going to pay higher on a property. And that's not right and in the public's best interest.
Okay, so let's clearly
lose money by losing the gym. He's got to move stuff, so he is entitled to make some money on it. On that, or he's losing.
Mr. Hayden, I
Does that
think
mean
you need to clearly restate your motion to amend, and then we need to vote on that amendment. Okay? Would you restate your motion to amend?
Motion to amend is that we pay the original $185,000 for track 1, $14,900 for track 2. The difference of the $60,100 that is ascertained in item 2 of responsibilities of the city be switched to a third, you could call it responsibilities of city number 9, and that those be itemized and delineated out based on
The incentive side.
incentive sites that have been stated
So
herein tonight.
we have a motion, and you accept that explanation?
Yes,
Mr. Conkright, if they make the adjustment to take the money off the greater than what the lot was appraised for, and put it on the incentive side, is that an impossibility?
Well, as incentives come at the time of the purchase, if I've got to wait 2 or 3 years, 5 years, no. To answer the question, the reason that I asked $75,000 for the lot, for the parking, 2 parcels, not one, the reason is, first of all, after I originally talked to you, then I found out that it's going to cost me about twice as much for rehab. I'm going to pay 3 times as much out to rehab this building as I'm paying for the building. And when I found out how much, then I decided I should ask a little more to help pay for part of that. It's going to cost me, when I first started out, to be honest with you, I said $50,000. I said $50,000, and it's first of all, the parking lot is 31 feet wide, and the other building was 29. It's 11 feet wider, and it's the same length. So there's more parking spaces on it. I'm asking less than half, or about less than a third right, less than half of what's getting out of the building. So, you know, as long as, and here's the deal, you know, as you know, I got to tomorrow morning answer on this thing. Either tomorrow morning, I say yes, I'm accepting, or no, I'm walking out, and you never hear another word from me about it. But I know what I need. Now, if they can want to come up, I don't care how they come up with the money. If they want to word it somewhere else, but for me waiting any length of time for it, no, it's not acceptable. Either because it is or illegal.
John had already, in my conversation with him, had agreed to accept over the 2 years with no interest, the purchase of the property, which, you know, is a
half the purchase, sir.
Half, right, for splitting it in half.
Yes.
And that was quite a, we thought, quite a concession there. But like I said, I think, you know, it's up to you. So first of all, we're going to vote on the amendment. The amendment is to,
The point, and Mr. Conrad, I appreciate your openness. What you're saying is precisely what I'm trying to do with my amendment, in that you're stating that you're needing additional capital based on the rehab, and I totally respect that, John.
Thank you.
But if we're gonna be open and transparent with public money, let's not hide it by saying we're paying more for property.
let me ask you this question. So if it's just a matter of how these things line up, are you willing then for us, the council, to use TIF money to give him the extra $60,000 he needs? Because he's saying he needs it now to make this deal. If we added into the rebate of the property tax, you'll probably have to double the time, so 10, 15 years. And we don't even know what that's going to come to. Right, Eric?
If we did $30,050 at time of closing, and then, because the original purchase was going to be over 2 years, and then do $30,050 in the next fiscal year as two separate line items. Would that be sufficient?
It can be done.
So you'd accept it that way? That we would give him the cash of $30,000 as part of the incentive agreement?
Won't that be the same amount?
It's the same amount. It's the same amount. He just doesn't like it because it's listed. I never disagreed even from the other night that it was not possibly written. But John came to me and he had 12 days or 14 days to have a special meeting to come up with a draft. He was out of town a day or two, and that was the drop dead day. That was all.
I think the public needs, Your Honor, to know where their money in tax increment financing money is being spent and what is actually being spent on.
So what we're saying is, Eric, the total then to split that difference up of $60,000 be $30,500. $30,050 to be put on the incentive side this year, and $30,050 put on the incentive side. At the same time, we would pay him for the balance of the property on or before May 30th, 2014.
And that, you know,
and you're okay with that?
I've grappled, you know, been looking at this, and I apologize, Mr. Contractor, for not being able to lead your walkthrough, but I had family in my town, and I was out of town myself.
So John, that would give you the 130, that would give you the, no, Eric, what it gives, okay, we take that down.
It's still $130,000 per year.
If you get $130,000 per year, just a different pot. We just have to read the way we do it bookkeeping wise.
Well, I wouldn't wait in other words, I have to wait a year for half of it.
No, you're still gonna, it's the same as before. What he's proposing is just for the record.
It's coming from a different.
Well, it's still coming from the same pot. It's just he wants it itemized differently, is what I'm hearing him say. And so you're still getting $130,000 each year.
What are you getting around 30?
Well, you're going to get the total of the sale. He's taking $60,000 off the sale of the property. He's taking $60,000.
She's the number lady.
Okay, you follow me, Beth?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so.
Basically, $260 is the total. So we get 130, because we did agree to get half now and half.
So you're still the same. It's just that the 60 we take out of the sale price, we'll have to they'll give me authorization tonight to have that redrafted. That the 60 comes off, and we pay you for the property. What the one appraisal I got is what it's listed for. But then the additional 60 would be split up over the 2 years to read the $30,050 each, $60,100 to give you back in the incentive side of the equation for your improvements in your remodeling job, et cetera, and not based on the property.
Yeah, the way I understand it, Mayor, is we'd be getting the same as what's in the proposal. It's just a matter of
It's a redistribution.
recording it and so forth.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right. And does everyone, Joe, do you understand that?
Yes.
And the second, you understand that?
Yeah.
So, if you vote for the amendment, it doesn't change John's equation. It just gets it done. It's just a little bit different bookkeeping style. I don't have any heartburn with that. I mean, we could have, had we had a little bit more time, we probably would have presented it as something like that. But it was just a time thing, and we were running out of time. Question?
Yeah, I just have one question on that. So then calling it an incentive, I'm just wondering about like precedent. I mean.
We've done these before though, where we've had some grants, we've had incentives. We've done them for numerous different things over the years, and that's a judgment call.
Case by case.
Case by case.
Okay.
And here, once again, I'll go back. This is a pretty easy scenario if I was back in my alderman seat, because you got a guy that has a 36-year track record. We have a positive record, and at the $23,000 a year sales tax, he's been bringing to our city for a long time. Maybe not $23,000 every year, but when you go back a number of years, but for a long time, he's brought us a significant amount of sales tax to the city of Belleville.
Well, and again, and I see both sides of the coin. Listen to Mr. Randall, but I've grappled hard on this, John. You're an anchor store there. You're committing to being there another 10 years. And, you know, well, at least in writing, I know you want to be there perpetually, but.
Okay, let's call for the vote. We're voting on the amendment, but in recapping, the amendment does the same thing the original motion does. It just redistributes how we lay it out in what will be a handout to you all tomorrow when we retype it. But it's gonna change the sales price back to what the appraisal states, and the difference of the money is going to be made up over those 2 years in the fortune of an incentive for his redevelopment and for the repairs, remodeling, and all the expenses he's going to incur to bring that building up to code. We have a motion, we have a second. Yes, ma'am.
Are you closing all discussion or just discussion as related to this amendment?
Discussion, all discussion about what?
About the total issue.
What else do you want to bring up?
I have a lot of questions.
So is the amendment for just the proper change in the terms, or is it finishing the deal?
Let's vote on the amendment of the price. What else is there besides this already?
I have a lot of questions. I want to know about the full-time and the part-time jobs. I want to know about the historic facade. I want to know about proof of sales tax. I want to know if there's any agreement he will or will not come back for more. I have some real questions about the $450,000 that's been dropped from $500,000 originally, of which $260,000 is coming from us. How much is he paying for the other buildings? What is this $450,000? Is that just the remodel? Is that the price of the buildings? Also, who paid for the appraisal? Who paid for
The city paid for the appraisal.
Okay,
I
is
paid for
that
half.
standard? Will that
He'll
be
pay for half. He just
standard?
said that. He just said, he told me before, he'll pay for half the appraisal.
Do we know anything about that?
Alderman Holt, this was a situation that we had a chance to move forward, what I felt on this parking lot. There's a few dollars each year in professional services. I made a decision with Jamie to get an appraisal. Had I come here without an appraisal, you'd have been even more furious. So we got an appraisal, we put it forward. He's telling you right now he'll pay half the appraisal. I think we're getting, so.
It is customary for the prospective buyer.
Okay, that's fine. Can we handle the historic part of the?
Well, I mean, he's told you, he stood here and told you on the record that he's gonna do his best to listen and work with him. It's not an historic district. We can't make him unless you're, and I
I
think.
beg your pardon, we're partnering with him, we certainly can.
Okay, but I'll tell you right now, where were these questions the other night and over the weekend and even now? I mean, it's impossible to sit here and say, he told you he's gonna talk with
I
him.
actually did bring up the historic stuff at my tour. And the attitude I got out of him was, I want to tear all that down and put in a modern glass front, and that's all I care about. Now members of the public have stepped forward and said, how important that is.
Well, I think not tearing those buildings down is extremely important.
Well, they propose that.
But I'll tell you what, they sit there and nothing else is done to them for a long
You
period of time.
cannot talk out both sides of your mouth. When you're telling me there's multiple offers on the table for those buildings, and then threaten, well, somebody's going to tear them down.
We don't know that one of them is to tear them down. We don't know that. my point is, he's making great strides in trying to preserve the buildings. He's gonna talk with Bob and the historic preservation people about trying to meet some of their concerns. But, you know, if we start to tell every downtown business owner that they have to put everything back in historic preservation format, you will not fill another building downtown. You will absolutely stop the growth and the newness of downtown, because there's nobody gonna be able to touch it if we're gonna come up with those standards. Now,
But a loose statement in the middle of a meeting with nothing written down is no guarantee whatsoever.
what other questions? John, can you add to that anymore? What would you want to
If
say?
my word is not good after 37 years, forget about me. You know, I don't understand it all. I'm willing to do what they need to do, but and we're going to get the thing right. My good God, it's serious. Mickey Mouse.
What else are we? What else? We got a motion and a second, but yes, sir.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that if Mr. Hayden's motion passes, which I think it makes sense, he wants to separate it out, that my motion and Mrs. Schmidt's motion would be moved because
It would be amended.
it would be amended. He's just making the motion. No, I understand that.
He's making a
And then
motion
so
to
we're
amend.
gonna vote twice.
Yes, we're
All right,
going to
we'll
vote.
We'll have to vote twice. Yes, yes, we do. I'm losing track of things. Okay. Hearing nothing else, we're going to call for the roll call on the amendment.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
That amendment passes. Now, the original motion, we need to,
Well, there's a motion and a second as amended. So I don't know if there's no further debate.
call for the vote as amended. I hear, okay, we have the motion already set as amended, right?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Communications, I don't think we have it. Petitions, non-resolutions, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Resolution number 3140. So moved by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler. All in favor of reading resolution 3140 by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
A resolution to allow the mayor to sign a utility permit for phase 3 of the LTCD.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Motion's carried. Ask for a motion to read by title only, ordinance number 7690, 7691, and 7692.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion about reading those motions by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 29, May 13th, Mathis, Murphy, and Richter.
Is there a problem, first of all, as he reads these, if we read them as a group?
Wait. All A, B, and C? Or just A?
That's the question. A, B, and C.
I object, please read them separately. You can read A and B together.
We'll go ahead and proceed with A and B.
And then case number 33, May 13th, Kim Sheldon.
Yes. No, usually, the A is ordinance 7690, read that, and 7691, go ahead and read the whole paragraph as well. You gotta read these differences.
A sign installation permit for the area of special control in order to install one flush-mounted and directly illuminated sign totaling approximately 85 square feet at 23 Public Square in the C2 Headquarters Zoning District. Case number 33, May 13th, requesting use variance in order to operate a child daycare center at 423 South Illinois Street located C2 heavy equipment district.
Fair motion to approve ordinance 7690, 7691. Alderman Anthony, seconds, all those.
Second.
Consilla, discussion about those two ordinances, those two of the zoning ordinances that we're able to come forward with. No further discussion, roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland.
Motion carries. Ask for motion to read by, we already had the motion to read by title only.
Ordinance number 7692, an ordinance adopting the prevailing wage rate.
We have a motion. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Sillsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion about this one?
I'm concerned about the amount of money it costs us when we do. I have a concrete example. I recently participated in the Disney Sidewalk program. I saw the estimate that came in because we only had people to put down the way it was incredibly high. So we asked some other non-union contractors to come in. It was nearly half the price.
Well, that's your choice.
I'm sorry?
I mean, that is your choice.
But it cost him, the bid came in by the contractor the city uses for $3,600. The bid came in for the private contractor for $2,000. For me, it ended up, I only had paid half the $3,600 to $1,800. I didn't go with that because it would cover, but it's costing the city for that for the property $800.
But we have quality workmanship, as we've said before for many years. We have workmanship and craftsmanship that has a training, they all have training programs. And with the non-union, you don't know that you have that. We are having right now, with some of the construction things,
Just keep in mind that this is a requirement of Illinois law.
if you want any of the funding, any of the funding,
You know, in prevailing wage, this prevailing wage act applies to non-union employees as well.
yeah. They get it as well, if they would, bid on these jobs or whatever. But the bottom line is, if we want to continue to get the grants and everything that we state and federal, we have to do it.
This is an obligation of all municipalities.
So, any other questions? Does that answer the questions there? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Unfinished business? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
You can call. If you're gonna have.
But my job is in public, and I prefer to do the public business.
But if we're gonna go back and we're gonna read the chapter, because really questions are supposed to be done, not at the council meeting. This is for debate. So I'll hear your questions tonight, but we're gonna limit questions. You should call Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
Be the moderator, not the, if we're gonna limit it to what strictly says, then we're all gonna play by the rules.
What is your question?
My
Mrs. Sullivan?
question is, for the special meeting that was called the other day, rather than coming from the clerk's office, why did my agenda come from your office?
You want to answer that, Jerry? You want to answer it? Why did it come from my office?
Because it was, the special meeting was called by the mayor. Under your code of ordinances, the way the code of ordinances is your city council rules, it sets forth the agenda.
Can I ask you to speak up? I can't hear over here.
It sets forth the form of the agenda, and it's silent as to who generates the agenda. Your practice has always been that the mayor, as the CEO, generates the agenda. That's what I'm told, but it's something.
That is true.
You do the agenda or
The department heads and the aldermen and committees have always brought the agenda items for the last 16 years. I did the same thing Chairman Kern did when he was mayor. I would work with the clerk, and we worked fine this last time here. But the agenda, the information comes in from department heads. Certainly Dallas will get communications as the clerk. We include all of that. And then he and his staff then totally put it together, distribute it, post it, advertise it, and then file it when it's done. And that's.
Okay, so I'm a little muddy then on why it came from here. not from Jim?
Because my staff and I assembled the materials and the information and the various duties, the things that were ongoing, that we were working on, the staff. And because the staff's the liaison to all these committee meetings. And they're bringing it in as we've done in the past.
I'm not satisfied with your answer, but we can talk about it another time. The courthouse scandal has been said that it will come farther. Should we expect anything coming from any city development employees?
That's an inappropriate question. Why
Would
don't
you please restate that question in the microphone? We couldn't hear it back here.
You don't think it's any of my concern that city of Belleville employees will
Okay.
possibly?
Your question, as the city attorney said, is really irrelevant out of order for this meeting.
Okay. I do have a question. The other problem with the courthouse has to do with community development block grants, which we do use their services to deal with our portion of the money. Are we in any way involved in it?
We have been not notified of any problem whatsoever. We follow all the rules, and we have got no indication that we're not going to get the funding that we so guaranteed.
Okay, can you give us a follow-up on the library phone system?
It's in, Leander, you and I and Rich Peppers have met twice, and is it fair to say that the phone systems are coming to completion?
First of all, the issue with the library phone systems is with the vendor that we use, Windstream. We have been working with them from day one to resolve it. Things are steadily getting better. Are we 100% yet? No, but things are improving.
But there is a plan in place.
Yes.
Rich Peppers has figured out that we're going to double the bandwidth, which should satisfy the problem we had with the internet, right?
Yeah, there are basically two problems. One is internet bandwidth, which they are addressing. The second is the telephones, which hasn't been our problem. It's been the nationwide problem with Windstream.
But also some of that, there was some problem with AT&T downtown. There was 3 separate problems.
Okay.
And we are addressing and working on all of them. Things are much better. We're hopefully for total completion, according to Rich Peppers, in the very near future.
Okay, so you intend to stay with the same contractor, but you believe you worked the issues out, or are working towards a solution everybody's happy with?
We're working towards a solution with Windstream. The decision to leave Windstream isn't the library because the contract is with the city, not with the library.
And if you remember correctly, we're saving a significant amount of money.
Right.
But part of the problem also was an AT&T problem.
Did City Hall have any similar issues, or was it just the
At
library?
first, when you make a change like that, with the old system that we were switching over, we had numerous problems.
Oh, I understand it. Did you think there were other buildings that had problems with the AT&T portion of it?
No, the AT&T portion that was happening when this thing came down a couple weeks ago was in a specific area downtown Belleville. And there was some other businesses that were affected, but not other city problems.
And I'd say the problem with the library is compounded because the library has more computers, more phones, more equipment than any other building in the city. So that compounded the problem for the library.
Right. Have you had any other down days?
We've had quite a few down days recently. We haven't had any days down in the last month. So things are getting better.
But there were some down days predicted when we made the switch over. That was a known fact.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Do we have a contract for the attorney?
You should have it. We would have, probably if I wouldn't have called in so much about Springfield this week, we'd probably have this back. But I think we have everybody here.
It was something that I wanted to present simultaneously with the assistance of the attorney's contract.
And he was on vacation this past
Okay, okay,
So it'll be there.
okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. Where are we at with the Turner Hall building? I have not seen any work going on in the.
Kurt Ardinger Kurt Ardinger, we talked to him today, Eric did. He should have his final appraisal to the bank by June the 10th. At that time, he will know if he's able to pull the trigger and they accept his total proposal. We're very hopeful. He's still moving forward. We're moving forward based on everything. We're working on the title search of the property right now, get that going, so we're not wasting any more time. And hopefully, we're going to hear about the 10th of June that everything is a total go. But that's
I
where
thought
we're
it
at.
was, the reason we did this was, it was a hurry rush thing.
It is, but as Kurt would tell you, it's a hurry rush, and thank God he stuck with us. But there was a lot more hurdles he had with satisfying everything with his lender and everything that he had to do. It's just a longer process than you realize. Okay, miscellaneous and new business, we have more fuel claims in the amount of $107,714.90. What's your pleasure? Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion on motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. I ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a litigation and contract. Your motion, motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman White. All in favor of going into executive session, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, you can have
No, I know.
Not to your contracts. Okay, we are back in open session. I would ask for a motion to allow our attorney who is dealing with workman's comp to proceed with the settlement in the sum of $14,959.27 to settle the case that we just talked about in executive session. Do I hear that motion? Motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Randall. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby.
Dr. Sylvie?
Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion by Musgrove, second by Schmidt. All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
That's all right.